oh my god. Oh, what? Oh, Jesus. Now, I don't know if that qualifies as gore, but, that's a thing. Hey, what's up, my juicy little kumquats? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Snapshot, we're going to be digging into all of the new Amalgam mods that released with the Gas City rework, because they may just be one of the best things DE has ever come up with. Conceptually, you know, the mods themselves are borderline trash, but conceptually, I see what they're doing. Now, for those of you guys who are curious as to how to obtain these mods, you can pick them up off of the Rope-a-Dope-a-Populous fight that you can find on Jupiter. Just be aware that this does require you to have completed the Chimera quest in order to participate. Okay, now for those of y'all who are Reddit levels of sensitive and are mad that I called these mods trash, keep in mind that one man's trash can be another man's treasure, and that's okay. Like I had stated earlier, while I don't necessarily like the execution of some of these mods, I do like the fact that DE is playing around with an interesting new concept that blends different styles of play. And for those of you guys out there who are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What the hell is going on? Let me explain for y'all real quick. So, weapon-specific Amalgam mods blend two different bonuses. One specifically for the weapon itself, and then another one for a completely different weapon. And this encourages you to go ahead and take those two different playstyles and smash them together. And then, of course, at the very, very end, we get a very interesting bonus effect. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger. You don't understand how many times that has tripped me up, but let's jump into it. As you can see, it grants 3 meters of punch through, which is similar to the Metal Auger mod, but is actually slightly better. In addition to that, you get damage from daggers, reduces armor by +6. Now, this is very similar to Shattering Impact, and it strips away the base armor of an enemy. Now, while I like this concept, like I'd stated, I don't necessarily enjoy the execution, because as you can see right here, we've got a 3-meter punch through mod, but in comparison to some of the other mods that could be taking the place of this, it kind of almost lowers the efficacy of the weapon's build, right? In addition to that, we have damage from daggers. Just daggers, not dual daggers. So for some reason or another, DE decided to choose the type of weapon that can outright kill an enemy in a single shot with covert lethality to slowly strip away an enemy's armor. Now, don't get me wrong, daggers can be quite fast, and you could go ahead and take out an enemy's armor, but we have so much access to whether it's different Warframes that can open up melee finishers so that you can use covert lethality, or just use your operator with some Naramon and go ahead and open them up that way and just instantly kill these enemies. So this is what I mean by the execution isn't 100% there. Now, of course, I do feel like this specific mod is the weakest of the bunch, and don't worry, we will be taking a look at all of the Amalgam mods today, and I'll be showing you the really cool synergies that go along with them, but while this isn't the greatest, I do have to say that some of the other ones aren't that far off. Regardless, let's stop chatting about this and let's go ahead and jump in and show off how good or bad these could possibly be. Conceptually, they're great though. Now hold on, before we jump into any of this, future Rob, not quite editing Rob, on its way to editing though, I do want to say, don't judge any of these builds, y'all. Don't judge any. Some of these weapons I have not picked up in ages. So don't give me problems. I own every single weapon in the goddamn game. I'm not able to keep track of some of these little piddly bits that we get every now and then, okay? Be kind. And give this video a thumbs up. Wow, the plugging. Alrighty, so since we're on the topic, let's go ahead and kick things off with Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger. Now, this does provide a bigger punch-through bonus than the standard Metal Auger. However, this is where I kind of call DE's competence into play, because I'm sure that they know all of the other mods that they have available to offer, right? And I'm sure if they wanted to push the Argonak into something that is a little bit more desirable, they would pay attention to the fact that Prime Shred kind of exists. It almost gives the same benefits, but it also has an improved fire rate to that. And maybe you don't agree with this build that I currently have set up, but there are other mods that could potentially take the place of this, kind of like Vigilante Armament, which grants bonus multi-shot and also has a chance to enhance critical hits. If you don't want to go that route and you really want to go ahead and push the Hunter's Munitions line, you could always go ahead and toss in an Argon scope, because this weapon is very, very accurate. So a part of me is sitting here looking at Metal Auger and I'm like, you're just giving me 3 meters of punch through, and of course you're giving me the armor reduction from the daggers that don't really need it. And in addition to that, the only topped off bonus is the fact that I can see enemies through walls? Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this in action. Now, as you can see, this is the Amalgam mod bonus working. You can see the enemies through walls. One of the things that I don't quite get, though, is that you can see enemies through walls that you can't shoot through. Like, it almost, to me, it would make more sense if you could see enemies through, only through walls that you can shoot through. However, there are some times where it's like, I want to shoot, like, at that guy in the back. I can clearly see him, but I can't shoot at him. So for me, the bonus is kind of a little bit wonky. Now, speaking of the bonus being wonky, one of the things that I don't quite understand with this specific pairing is why a high accuracy long range rifle that was meant to pierce through walls would be paired with a dagger to strip armor? Now, of course it works. This is definitely something that you can do, but it takes quite some time to strip an enemy's armor. So why would I go through all of this trouble to strip their armor in order to kind of like, what, use it with the pistol? We're almost there. Hold on, we're not quite there yet. We're close. We're close. And you see how, like, just non-usable this is, I guess you would say? So now we finally stripped off his armor, and then we could go ahead and finish him off with a weapon. The synergy doesn't feel great on that one when you could just do something like this and just finish them off straight out the gate. So part of me is just very, very curious as to why they thought that these two would pair well. And the thing that frustrates me the most out of all of this is, well, yes, like, it's cool that you can see through walls with a high range sniper, but why in the world wouldn't you pair maybe the armor stripping with something like dual daggers? Dual daggers has needed love for quite some time, and you're gonna go ahead and give armor stripping to single daggers that have covert lethality. So, I don't know. This one is leaving me with a whole lot of questions. Alrighty, so I want to go ahead and point out some true dedication here real quick, because I had no forma in the Furax Wraith, nor was I interested in leveling the Furax Wraith, but I did it just for this video today. As you can see here, we have Amalgam Furax body count. So this is bonus combo duration instead of the standard body count. And then it also gives a blast radius to specialized launchers, very similar to Firestorm. Now, interestingly enough, melee kills will knock down enemies within 15 meters, and that's the really interesting bonus effect. Now, one of the things that I find very interesting about this is it's a really, really interesting concept where you kill one enemy, you knock down other enemies, you go ahead and ground finish your other enemies, and then it keeps knocking down all of these enemies in a 15-meter radius, which I really fucking like. However, it doesn't necessarily work on super high level targets. So let's go ahead and take a look how this pairs with the Ignis Wraith, which I kind of like because it's Furax Wraith, Ignis Wraith, like, oh, it's all in the same family. Okay, so as you can see, I have dramatically dropped the level of our Billies just for demonstration purposes. But I wanted to go ahead and show you exactly how this all operates. So basically what happens is whenever you kill an enemy with the Furax, what happens is they all get knocked down. So you have this big old chain of just knocking enemies down over and over and over again. Now, of course, they do have that kind of law where if they're in the middle of their own animation, they're not gonna interrupt their animation for your knockdown. But basically, what you just do is you just chain a whole bunch of these. And what I'm actually using is I'm using I think a seismic palm or something like that, where you can actually trigger a finisher on an enemy. So what ends up happening is you just consistently knock enemies down, and then you just keep doing ground finishers and keep grabbing for enemies in order to do finishers to continuously knock them down over and over and over again. And it kind of chains after chains after chains. So you combine that with a little bit of the debuffs that come from the Ignis Wraith, where you can kind of strip down some armor and make it a little bit easier for you to take on these enemies, and it's a really, really interesting effect. However, it stops being effective after, like, maybe I want to say level 75, level 80. Beyond that, it kind of becomes ineffectual because you're unable to kill enemies as fast because the Furax Wraith isn't necessarily the most powerful weapon on the block. So you're kind of fucked in that sense. But it's fun for the star chart, and that's also kind of like what gets me thinking. I was like, DE probably made a lot of these Amalgam mods for the star chart, which puzzles me a little bit because of the fact that, you know, they're kind of late in the progression of the game when they're awarded from the Ropa-Dopa-Pop list, right? But it is a unique effect, and I can see what they're trying to do, where you're able to kind of chain melee finishers into ground finishers, which will end up finishing more enemies, which will knock down more enemies. It's just really unique and different. However, execution-wise, I don't think it's like 100% there. It's fun, it's interesting, it's different, but I think that there needs to be just a little bit more forethought to see things like this go into far more extended levels of play. But it's a little bit fun, right? Okay, so we're going deep for this one. Who here remembers the ripkas? Anybody? I'm sure that y'all haven't played with it in quite some time, but as you can see, we have Amalgam Ripkas True Steel, which grants a bonus critical chance and improves the reload speed on shotguns. Now, interestingly enough, you get 100% gore chance. So I believe this is just like bodies exploding. I don't really feel like that's a great bonus, but the reason why I kind of like this is because of the fact that it has a little bit of a throwback within this synergy. So as you can see right here, bet y'all forgot that Hunter's Bonesaw exists, right? I did too, don't worry. When I was playing around with these builds, I was like, what is that? But it increases the damage by 90% and status chance by 60% when attacking a prone enemy. So I'm assuming prone means knocked down, right? Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure it's knocked down. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this synergizes with the Boar Prime. Alright, so as you can see, I have upped the level of our abilities, and that's mainly because of the fact that I find this combination to be pretty gosh darn good. As you can see right there, that guy is pretty much dead. And as we go, there's our first juicy little explosion from the ripkas. Now, I'm actually using a combination of corrosive and blast to knock down these enemies. Oh, I'm really, really bad at ground finishers, but as you can see right there, it's stripping away the enemy armor, and then because of the fact that we get bonus damage while these enemies are knocked down, while they're not knocked down, just die then, I guess. We're able to go ahead and capitalize on that Hunter's Bonesaw that we've got going on. Now, the one thing that I do have to say is while this combo is fun, I feel like the bonus of just goring enemies, while it's nice and visual, I don't necessarily feel like it's the most handy of the bunch. You know what I mean? There are some really, really good bonuses or some better bonuses out there. This one I feel like is more for visual effect, and I don't... Actually, I remember that there was some loot changes, so I'm not even 100% sure anymore if it goes into effect where if you split a body, you'll be able to get more loot out of it. But I just feel like there are some better utility abilities out there when it comes to the Amalgam. So this one, I'm like, cool visual effect, man. Like, but where's the utility or where's the actual real bonus? Because this is nice and all, but I actually want like a real bonus. It's a great synergy, it's a great setup, but you know, maybe like bonus health orbs or something, because we are mailing these enemies, right? It would be nice, and if we are goring them, correct, there should be some extra blood lying around for us to soak up and regenerate our health with. So it's a fun little combo, and this is definitely one of those ones that kind of like sparked me to say, you know what, this is a really cool concept. I can get behind this but it just needs to be fine-tuned a little bit better. So after that big bloody mess, we have a pairing that's a little bit more accuracy-based, something that's a tad bit more sneaky. So as you can see, we have the Amalgam daikyu target acquired. You get a 75% bonus to your headshot multiplier, and you also get a 3% lifesteal on Nakanas. In addition to that, the interesting little effect is you have a 60% chance to pick up used arrows. Now there is a sound effect that is paired up with this. I never hear it myself, but you'll notice that your ammo will go up occasionally after you've walked past maybe a shot that you've missed on the wall or an enemy that you pumped some arrows into. So it's a nice way to kind of keep yourself a bit more sustained. All right, so as you can see, I have turned off invincibility for this one because I want you guys to see the effectiveness of the lifesteal on the Nakana. But the cool thing that I think that we've got going on over here is because of the fact that, of course, we've got a melee weapon that can equip condition overload, and then it's paired with a weapon that can apply status fairly well. I think that it's a really, really good pairing. So what I'm going to do, and you'll notice that I actually went ahead and tossed on the Skijati, and I did that for a very specific reason. It's because it has access to melee finishers, which means you can go invisible and go ahead and pop off another status effect from the daikyu, right? And then go invisible again, right? So for me, in my head, I was like, oh, that's a nice little combo we got going over there where we can pop in and out of visibility. We can go ahead and put in a little bit of condition overload time and then disappear back into the shadows. So for me, I thought that this ended up being a really, really fun pairing of the two. I thought that this is exactly why I was so disappointed with the argonak and the daggers, because those ones didn't feel well done at all. I was just kind of like, what is this hot mess that you've got going on over here? So as you can see, we're just going to go ahead and try to melee through some of this damage, right? And then we'll go ahead and get our combo in to go invisible, potentially. There you go. There's our invisibility combo. And then let's go ahead and lay a little status into this guy. Trigger our condition overload, right? Get that invisibility. Oh, he got knocked down by the other one, so he couldn't do it. But look, our lifesteal is definitely helping keeping us alive. Of course, it's the build is pretty strong too, but there we go. We disappear into nothingness, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I got some statuses for you, bruh. And then we go in and we just clean shit up, right? So at the end of the day, that is definitely one of the funner amalgam combinations. Is it something that we would realistically use all the time? Probably not, but this is one of those things where it's kind of like worth mixing up your playstyle. And closing things out, we have the amalgam mod that everybody looked at and was like, what? Is that gonna be good? I mean, it's 6,000% damage. It's kind of gotta be good, right? So the Amalgam Javlok magazine warp has a couple interesting effects on it. First and foremost, it has the 45 magazine capacity. Now, that's not necessarily a mod that I would put in myself, but it does synergize with the fact that when you throw it, the amount of damage it does is based off of how much ammo you have in the mag. So fine, I guess. But the real effect that everybody was looking at is parrying with a shield reflects 6,000% damage. And in addition to that, the bonus that it gets is 90% channeling efficiency while parrying. Keep in mind that if you are parrying without channeling, you don't get, or if you're blocking without channeling, that's not really the parrying effect, and you don't get that 6,000% damage, so you have to be channeling and consuming energy in order to get this to trigger. Alrighty, so invincibility is off yet again, and as you can see right here, I'm going to go ahead and throw the little javlok, which is nice and fun, but I'm going to turn channeling on. So as you can see, while this guy is knocking me down, I'm reflecting it back to him. But here's the issue. While it is being reflected back to him, because of the fact that he is heavily armored, right? He's not taking very much damage. I think even, let's see if I can see the numbers on the screen somewhere. It is like in the 200 points of damage. Against a level 165, that's not all that freaking fantastic, right? Now, here's where the game really changes though. So, as you can see, I've used Oberon for a reason, because we can strip off enemy armor. So let's see how it does now, right? Shoot at me, bitch. Now we're taking out chunks of this enemy. And that's where this gets really, really interesting. So while this doesn't necessarily work against highly armored targets, anything that isn't highly armored actually takes some pretty good chunks out of them. And because of the fact that it synergizes really well with Oberon, I have to say, I'm not too mad at it. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I'm not reflecting any damage back because I'm not channeling. You have to hit the channeling button. So as you can see, now I'm glowing. Now I'm reflecting that damage back. So let's do this one more time. Let's go ahead and strip off his armor real quick. And then you can see exactly how this works in effect. So shoot me, baby. Shoot me all over. Or miss completely. You could do that too. And as you can see right here, with that armor stripped, he's a goner. So I think that this works really, really well with Warframes that can strip armor and that can take a hit too. There are some other like specified builds that you can use to kind of like draw in and taunt enemies to shoot at you specifically. But to be honest with you, I don't care about my teammates that much to really create that type of build. I just think it's a really, really interesting setup. Is it a setup that I would personally want to do? Oh my god, I just turned off my buff. No! No! Pretty sure that was karma for saying that I didn't give a shit about my teammates. So we're going to watch what we say, but I'm going to go and throw this down, and then I'm going to go ahead and channel, and hopefully one of these guys will shoot at me, and we'll see exactly how effective this actually is. Make sure also, remember that you have to be aiming at the enemies that are shooting you. So this motherfucker over here was getting free shots and not taking any damage until you actually parry their shots back at them. So as you can see, we're doing a pretty good job clearing these enemies out, or they're doing a good job clearing themselves out. Also make note, one of the reasons why I like using Oberon with this is because I do have Hunter's Adrenaline on him, because as you guys know, every time you parry an attack, it consumes energy. So this way, if they hit you and they deal damage to your health, they're replenishing your energy and kind of making up for that energy channeling. So this setup is definitely one of my favorites. Again, don't let karma bite you in the ass and say bad things about your teammates. Alrighty, so that about does it for the Amalgam mods. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, they're not something that I'm going to be using in my standard builds or really in any type of play. So while I don't necessarily like them, I do value the fact that they are getting DE to kind of like think outside of the box and think about specific weapon combinations and how to like boost up the efficacy of certain weapons and make them really, really interesting. Like the whole combination with the ripkas and the hunter's bone saw is not something that we've seen in a long time, but it's something that they were able to create a whole style of gameplay out of. So for me, I look at that and I'm like, they're thinking. They're thinking. Now, they don't always hit the mark like they completely missed with the whole argonak. It's just painful to say that name. Along with these single daggers, that totally and completely missed the mark. But I'm seeing some things that are promising for the future. Maybe not necessarily in this batch, but as I always say, DE likes to hold something up their sleeves. So you never know, maybe the next batch of Amalgam mods are going to be an even better iteration than we currently have now. But let me know how you guys feel about the Amalgam mods down in the comments below. I understand that there's a big chunk of our community that likes to min-max. I'm one of those people, and that's why I'm kind of like sweeping these under the rug. But let me know if you're willing to take them out on a test drive, if they look a little bit more interesting to you now. So that about does it for me for now. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo amalgam. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.